Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Roots of Faith. For today's episode, I'm sitting down with Brother Emmanuel once again. Emmanuel, how are you today?
Good, brother. It's good to see you. Good to talk with you
Yeah,
again.
man.
And I love getting together with you. So
Yeah,
it's good to
same
be
here,
here.
bro. Same here. Thank you. Thanks for having us in your home. I really appreciate it. For those that are not really familiar with you, maybe do like a little introduction about yourself, and then we'll kind of just take it from there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, brother Emmanuel, on Instagram, Emmanuel in real life. But I can be a brother to everyone. But yeah, so I grew up as a little wrestler all through my life. I grew up in a very non-denominational home, faith-wise. Wrestled through high school, wrestled in college for 2 years, and then joined the army and served in the army for about 10 years. And then when I joined the army is when I really started taking my faith seriously, my Christian faith, and kind of searching what it meant to be a Christian, what it meant to be a man of that faith. And then I eventually found myself in the Orthodox Church, baptized in 2019, a month before my last and final deployment in the Army. And now I've been home out of the Army for about 3 years now. And yeah, a member of St. Ignatius. I'm a father, I'm a husband, a high school teacher, wrestling coach, and a hobbyist jiu-jitsu fighter, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's who I am.
Nice, nice. Well, we just finished filming a whole series or a whole episode yesterday for the Everyday Orthodoxy series, where you participate in a jiu-jitsu tournament, you compete, and you had like a really, really awesome submission. So I can't wait to show everybody, how you did at the tournament.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned for that. You guys are gonna love it. But yeah, man, I just wanted to talk to you. We've been having a lot of great conversations off camera, and I'm like, some of the stuff that we're talking about, I feel like could be of value for people listening out there, and especially coming from a Christian perspective, an Orthodox Christian perspective. Like, honestly, I admire you a lot because I look up to you as a father, you being a father to, your children. I'm a father. So it really inspires me to see other men that are leading their families. So today I kind of want to talk a little bit about, just life in general, but also how to be a good father. I think that's a good place to start right there. But, how do you approach that coming from a Christian perspective? Like, what is the role of being a father?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, thank you so much for those words, Jonathan. I really appreciate that, and I love you. But yeah, before we even get into how to be a good father, so I look at father as a almost a rank, a position of leadership. And so before we even get to that position, I'd like to talk about kind of what's required of us before as boys and young men. And so this is something that I found kind of looking back now, how I acted as a young boy, as a young athlete, a young wrestler in high school, in college, and then going into the Army as a young soldier. What brought me so much success in all those phases of my life? Because I did find a lot of success in each phase. I found myself surpassing my peers a lot. And what made it so different? And I think this saying that I've heard a long time ago is really what it is. If following is below you, then leadership is beyond you. And so I look back, in high school, I always just trusted whoever my coach was, whoever my teacher was, what they were telling me. I just trusted them, and I went all in, and I submitted to their authority fully. Same thing in college. Whoever my coach was, I just followed him. He told me what to do, and I just did it. I took that mindset into the Army, and I wanting to be the best soldier I could be. I just fully submitted myself to whoever my sergeant was, whoever my platoon leader, my commander, my commanding officers. Early on in basic training, I just did everything, they told me to do. I volunteered for everything, sweeping rocks, sweeping dirt, cleaning, whatever it was, I volunteered for it. And there came a time in basic training really early, like 4 or 5 weeks in, the drill sergeants, they asked for a volunteer. I ran. ready to serve. Um, it was right before our in basic training. You go to the gas chamber, so it was during that time. So I ran, ready to serve, and they said, "Private, Carl, sit down. You're done. We don't want to see you for the rest of the time. Go sit down. Stop volunteering." And then the rest of basic training became very easy because the drill sergeants kind of just left me alone. Something clicked. It's like, wow, if I just keep on trying to serve and trying to work hard, um, things kind of get easier, ironically, for some reason. And so I took that mindset and I kept on rolling with it when I went to my first unit, first deployment. And I said, how can I make my sergeant, my team leader, how can I make him look good? How can I serve him? How can I be the best soldier for him? And again, for my commander. And this benefited me so much early on as a young soldier. Again, I was elevated, um, and not that we should do these things just to be elevated. We should do these things because out of humility and the reality is, and I understood this early on too, is that God has placed all authority over me. And so if I want to honor God, then I should honor the authority that he has placed over me. And sometimes the authority that was placed over me, especially as a younger man, I was really fit, I was really fast, really strong, and so my leader wasn't always the same, right? So a lot of times I was faster, stronger, more capable than my sergeant, my commanding officers, but that didn't give me the right to just disobey them or not take them seriously or not listen to them. Um, I I did listen to them, and I wanted to just submit to their authority because I knew in my heart that if I submit to them, I'm ultimately submitting to God, who has placed them above me in this moment. And so, again, this mindset I just took and ran with it throughout my whole Army career, and it really did elevate me and help me grow into a great soldier, a great leader of soldiers. Eventually, I would get out of the Army as a staff sergeant with my own teams, my own squads, and I would try to teach this to my soldiers while I was in as well. And I would still, even though I was a leader, I was still under the authority of commanders and first sergeants, and so I would still try to uh, practice this as well, right? And as a staff sergeant, you're a leader, but you still have to submit to your leaders. And I would try to show that to my soldiers as I preached it to them. And so I think, like I said earlier, if following is below you, if you think following or being a servant is, you think you're too good for that, leadership is always going to be outside of your grasp. You're not going to be a great leader if you can't be at first a great follower. Somebody who's has a servant mindset, like how can I serve? And ultimately, this takes a lot of humility, especially to submit to someone who you think you are superior to, right? And you might be physically stronger, or you might be smarter than that person. But if they have been placed above you and they are your authority, then it takes humility to submit to that authority. And I think it's a good thing, though, and you ought to do this, especially as a young man. And even today, I'm older now. I'm a father. I'm kind of getting towards the end of my competitiveness, and now more of a coach and teacher. I still have uh, my own teachers, my own mentors. I still have my own spiritual father, my priest that I submit to, as best as I can. I submit to them fully, and so it's something that's never gonna stop. I'm never gonna stop submitting to authority, right? Because ultimately, again, it's been placed upon me by God, and if I honor that here, then I'm honoring God. Ultimately, I'm submitting to Him, and that's the goal. And so that's, again, as young men, I think your best opportunity right now to prepare yourself for fatherhood, to prepare yourself for being a great leader as a young man. With maybe you're single, maybe you don't have children right now, in your early 20s. I think you should find that authority, whoever it is. It could be your boss, it could be your sergeant, it could be your teacher, your coach, and just fully submit to them, um, and serve them. How can you make them look good? How can you make your teacher look good? How can you make your sergeant look good? How can you make your coach look good? Go out there and live for them, so to speak. And then ultimately, by doing so, you're honoring God, right? It's by submitting to authority that He has placed above you, and you are preparing yourself to be a great leader, a great father. I believe so.
Right. How does that translate to like how the way that you lead your children, you know?
Yeah. So, how do I lead? First of all, how can I lead my wife and then my children,
Mm.
right? And so, if my wife, um, who's been with me for some time now, almost 10 years, so she obviously saw me as a younger sergeant when we met. Um, so she would see me submitting to my authority, right? And then we go to church. She would see me submit to my my authority with that's placed over me in church, Father James, right? My priest. And how do I speak to these men who are above me, and bow before, and kiss the hands of my priest. And my wife is seeing that. She's seeing someone who's supposed to be leading her submitting to authority that's above him. And so, if my wife were to see me be very unsubmissive to all authority, do you think she would feel comfortable? She wouldn't feel comfortable submitting to my authority.
Right.
Because why would she? If her husband can't even submit himself to the correct authority, right? She has no right, really. She won't feel comfortable and to submit to me. And then it would go down to the children. That the children will see the mother not take the father seriously. So then why should we as children listen to mother? Right? And so it all trickles down. The man submitting to God, the man submitting to his earthly authority. The wife sees that. The wife submits to the husband's authority. The children see that, and then the children submit to the mother's authority, and it works beautifully. But it only takes one link out of that, and it's usually the man that's kind of somewhere in the middle that decides, I'm not going to submit to anybody. I think I can do everything myself. And then now the wife and children are affected negatively. And so it's huge that one man, again, submits to authority.
Right. It always starts as us. It always starts with us as men. Yeah. Like I noticed it, like just even in my own like childhood upbringing, with my dad, how his actions influence the rest of our family. And I see that with other people too, people that come from dysfunctional families. Anyone who's grown up in New Mexico, everyone that I know personally that is New Mexican, meaning that they're born in New Mexico and they come from that heritage, all of them, like 99% of them come from dysfunctional families. And then I take a look at their parents, and it's usually the dad. It's the dad that has some type of problem, some type of drug addiction, or they're violent, or they're in a gang, and that influences them. I have a lot of good friends, but maybe their brother is broken or is in jail or is a drug addict or something like that. And it always starts with the man, the man's decision to lead the family. And if he doesn't do it, it's at the cost of everybody else. We had a good conversation the other day about, how we're trying not to repeat the same patterns in our, now that we're fathers, we're trying not to repeat that in our, with our families,
Mm-hmm.
So are there things that like in your upbringing that you're seeing that you have to kind of unlearn? Or like for me personally, God bless my wife. Like I give her a lot of props because she's had to deal with me like a lot, and
Yeah.
I honestly, since high school, I've always had a problem with authority. That's always been my number one thing. I was never like obedient to teachers. I was always like ditching class or whatever. I would have teachers like yell at me in front of her too and be like, why are you with him? He's going to lead you down, I don't know. But that was my big struggle. Is just a big sense of entitlement. I really think that it stems from a big sense of entitlement. You feel like you're really cool because you disobey authority,
Yeah.
but it's the opposite. When you're willing to be obedient and have that humility, I think that's what's cool. And especially if you carry that into the spiritual authority too.
Mm-hmm.
You find a good spiritual father and you submit to the church. You know, you submit to your spiritual authority. Um, but where was I going with that? What was I saying?
Yeah. So I'm thinking about generational curses, and I truly believe in that. Dysfunctional families, and it takes from the father. I come from a line of men who didn't finish their lives with their first wives,
Hmm.
right? The mother of their children. And so it's been passed down all the way to me. And these are, I believe, generational curses, and it can be very hard to confront and overcome. Um, and as strong as I become, as smart as I become, as capable as I become, I myself couldn't overcome these curses that have been passed down to me, I believe, without Christ.
Mm.
So I truly need Christ as a man, as a husband, as a father. I need Christ, because especially right now, the world wants to see marriages fail. The devil
Right.
wants to see marriages fail, right? When I speak, my wife and I, we sometimes we might get into a disagreement, but ultimately, we are not each other's enemy.
Right.
The devil is our enemy, and the devil wants to see us separated. The devil wants to see us argue with each other and hate each other. Um, but we won't give him that satisfaction when we forgive each other.
Mm.
And I remind each other that our enemy is him. It's not us. We are not each other's enemies. We are on the same team, and with Christ leading us. And
You started doing something really beautiful with your family that you shared with us on the other episode. Talk to us a little bit about that. What you started doing, like as a nightly routine with your family.
yeah, so evening prayers after evening prayers. So our nightly activity right now, recently has been I'll read the book, the Little Pilgrim's Progress, to my daughter, and then we'll do evening prayers. That's been our routine. And then recently I saw a Father Josiah video speaking about his nightly routine, and I loved it, about forgiveness. And so what we'll do now, after evening prayers, I'll ask my wife to forgive me for anything I have done that day, and then I'll ask my daughter to please forgive me, and then my wife will ask me, and then she'll ask our daughter, and then our daughter will ask me, and then she'll ask her mother to forgive her. And the first night we did this, my sweet little daughter, she just started crying after she was done asking for forgiveness.
Mm.
She started crying, and it kind of took me by surprise. And she reached out to mother, and I asked mother, why, is she okay? What happened right now? And she just looked at me, and I think mom was a little teary-eyed too. And I think just all those emotions of asking for forgiveness, being forgiven, just she couldn't control it, and that's all she could do was just cry and reach out.
Mm.
And it was a beautiful moment, beautiful night. And we'll do this, for as long as we can, until we are called, from this earth, and ask for each other's forgiveness every night. And there's just so much power in that. And then, it takes a lot of humility to ask someone for forgiveness.
Right.
And sometimes, no matter what, even if it's been a hard day and everyone's been, frustrated, if we can end each night asking each other for forgiveness, with the man leading that prayer and that seeking of forgiveness, you can overcome anything that this world is going to throw at you to try to separate you. There's true power in forgiveness, to forgive everybody for everything.
I feel like that even with like going to confession, like it's so, I don't know, like I'm not really even that much like an emotional guy, but like it makes me feel kind of emotional going to confession. I'm like, dang, like it really, I don't know, like it really sets the tone there for me, you know. Do you feel like that when you go to confession?
Yeah, I think confession is and I thank God for the sacrament of confession within the Orthodox Church, that we have this, and that we can, the Lord can help us overcome everything that we're dealing with through this sacrament, through all the sacraments, but especially confession. And it could be scary to go and, seek this sacrament. I get nervous still sometimes. And I mentioned the story earlier. I worked at a boys ranch when I got out of the army. And a boys ranch is essentially a place where troubled boys get sent to for breaking the law, or just getting kicked out of group homes. And a lot of these boys, and we'll come back to this, I think, too, are fatherless, right? And so, but these boys get sent to this facility with the goal of trying to help them overcome these behaviors so they can go back into society and be successful. Um, and so, yeah, I worked there for a while, and essentially my job is to get there before they wake them up, take them, help them make their beds, take them to breakfast, take them to class, take them to lunch, dinner, do activities with them, do workouts with them, play sports with them, uh, have an evening little, watch a movie or play some games, and then put them to bed, and then watch them, until the night shift comes, and then you do that all over again. It's about 12, 13-hour days, long days, but it's certainly rewarding. But there would be times, there would be days. Again, these boys are rough, and sometimes they're just gonna give you everything they got. They're gonna cuss at you. They're gonna try to fight you. They're gonna just not listen to you. Give you the hardest day, and you're gonna keep on trying and trying to work with them. But many times, and I can still remember these boys and their faces. There would be times when a boy would come up to you right before bed, and he'd say, "Coach," because you were called Coach. He said, "Coach, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for just being rude today, misbehaving today. I do want to get better." And in that moment, I love that. I love that young man even more. And I want to hug him. I want to tell him everything's going to be okay. Um, but I tell him, I say, "Hey, tomorrow's a new day. And what you did today has been completely forgotten. I'm proud of you for saying sorry. It takes a lot of courage to say sorry as a young man. But we'll try again tomorrow. I'll see you tomorrow. We'll wake up. We'll try again tomorrow." But yeah, I fall in love with him even more. I want him to be good. I want him to be saved. And so I think about this, and then I have an imperfect heart. My love is imperfect. But if I was moved by this boy saying sorry, and my heart was softened towards him, like, how much more does God love me when I go to confession and I ask him for forgiveness, and I say, "I'm sorry and I want to get better, Father"? How much more does he fall in love with me? And I can't fathom his love, how much he loves us, how much he loves me. And so if I felt that way, how much more does God love me? Every time I go and seek his forgiveness, every time I go and say, "I'm sorry, I want to get better too." And so that boy inspired me, right, to go to confession more, and to not neglect it, and as scary as it can be, as nervous as it can make you, there's grace, and God is truly moved when we go and seek his forgiveness and we say sorry to him. And I think as a father, that's also very, very huge, and it's something that as fathers we shouldn't think of ourselves as too high to ask our wives and children for forgiveness either. And I think it's something we should do. And I know maybe kind of we live in a world that the father has to be strong, and I still believe the father has to be strong, but I don't think there's weakness in asking for someone for forgiveness. And there's definitely no weakness in asking your wife to forgive you and your 5-year-old daughter to forgive you. I think if anything, they become stronger and they see you as a stronger leader as well.
How much has Orthodoxy shaped like who you are as a man? Because you're coming from a Mormon background, right? And you converted what year was it? 2019? Or
Yes, 2019, baptized.
what are like the main differences that you've noticed, if you've noticed anything at all, like how Orthodoxy shaped you as a man?
Yeah, so I, coming from a Mormon background, I converted to Mormonism as a young man, and then converted to Orthodoxy as a still late 20s, still in my 20s though, but um, there was a lot of good practices in the Mormon church, right? Obviously, we talked about this earlier, whether Mormonism is correct in its theology, and I do not believe so. I don't believe it is Christianity. However, there's a lot of great principles, family-oriented principles that help me as well. But becoming Orthodox, right? Now I have all these sacraments, that these tools to help me become a good father. When I do fall, when I do feel down, this morning at Divine Liturgy, I woke up, tired, and the voices of the world saying, "Sleep in, just you're tired." You're like, what? Like, you've been doing so much, It's like, and I had to fight that, and I'm going to church tired. But when you get to Divine Liturgy, like you're not exhausted anymore. Like you're standing there, you're participating in Divine Liturgy, and I wasn't tired anymore. We were there, experiencing the grace of God, heaven on earth. And how can you be tired? And now, I don't regret waking up and fighting through, right? I would have regretted not waking up and letting those voices beat me, right? And so again, as the father, we were all tired. We were all sleepy. It was a long night. But we can do this together. Let's go. And then now none of us will regret waking up and defeating those voices telling us to stay in bed.
Yeah.
So it's the discipline of orthodoxy too, right? That I think being a good father requires a lot of discipline, and orthodoxy there's a lot of discipline.
Doing things even when you don't feel like doing them.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Doing things when you don't feel like doing them, and that's the key to a lot of success, wherever you are. That's the key to being, walking your Christian life, your Christian journey, trying to endure to the end. It's going to require a lot of discipline. Paul talks about it a lot. The discipline of an athlete, I'm very familiar with, and so I can see a lot of that in orthodoxy, coming from a wrestler's background and a military background. I see a lot of similarity within orthodoxy that I didn't really see so much in the Protestant world, and even Mormonism, as principled as they were. But in orthodoxy, there's a lot of that discipline, which is good for a man, very good for a young man, a father, and all men. So,
do you think people can grow into like? I mean, I'm pretty sure that's the case for most things. Like you grow into being a father, like, or you're being forced. Like, for example, I was like super immature, and I still am. But like, when I knew I was gonna have my daughter, that's when I started taking my life seriously. So I'm like, okay, I got to step it up. Now I'm actually gonna be a father. Now I can't just be like this little idiot, which I still am. But like now I'm slowly learning and slowly maturing. Do you think there's like I don't even know where I was going with that question, but
so it's not so much being an idiot, but maybe being silly. And I think even though, right, as a father, there are times when you need to be very serious, very, very upfront, very upright, very disciplined, militant even, right? But there's times when you should be silly, a little silly, and having fun with your children and rolling around on the ground, and right. I think we spoke about this before, but chivalry.
yeah,
Chivalry is huge. I think a father should truly understand what that means. Chivalry, right? What it means, it's a Christian concept. It's spoken about. I think in King Arthur's epic, you see Sir Lancelot. I think is depicted as a man who can display chivalry perfectly. And Sir Lancelot was written about as being, his foes feared him. He was the fiercest knight in all the land, and his enemies feared him. But he was the most meek man inside the halls, and all the children and women, they adored him, and they felt safe around him because he was so sweet and gentle and kind to them. And I'm sure silly with the children, right? And so that's what a father has to be, right? He has to be fierce to the nth degree, and then he has to be meek and gentle and kind to the nth degree. Not one or the other, but both all the time. And so when I'm out in the world, I have to be, sometimes serious. But when I'm in home, my children, my daughters, they should never really see me as this fierce man, but they should feel safe around me, right, and comfortable and free to just be themselves and be silly and jumping on me and rolling around. And so that's, I think there is it's a good, a father should be silly sometimes within their home with their children and wives. Be silly with your wives. Don't be so serious with your wives and children, but be serious out there in the world. So
Part of that reminds me of I think it's from that movie A Bronx Tale. Do you remember? I don't know if I'm making this quote up in my head or if it's actually in the movie. Something about like, so it's Robert De Niro, right? Have you seen that movie?
I don't know, but I'm thinking of, finish telling me, but I'm thinking of Cinderella's story too.
Where he's talking about like what it means to be like a true man or like a hardworking man. It's like it's the father that goes up to work, the 40-hour work week or whatever, and come back to his family and go into a job that he hates.
Yeah.
Versus he's contrasting that with I think the mafia guy, his name is Son. No, maybe that's the son, Sonny. I don't know if Sonny was the mafia guy or I have to watch the movie again.
I remember the
Whatever
clip.
the
I've
name of
seen
the
the
mafia
clip.
guy
Yeah.
was, where it's like that's the shortcut. Like that's what it's not to be like a man.
Because the son sees this mafia guy who's making all this money,
Yeah.
who's got the nice cars.
Kind of like the two fathers. You got your real father that's hardworking and he's
Yep.
taking care of his family and being a provider, going to the job that he hates, but he's doing it. He's sacrificing himself for his family.
Yeah.
Versus this other guy that has everything, but he's doing it the shady way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's a good point, because I think a lot of young men today are seeing so much flashiness on social media. So many guys who have these fancy cars and who, are saying all of these things, how to be a man. But you never see them with their wives or children. You only ever see them with their material items.
Yeah.
Rarely, if ever, like I said, you see them with their wives and children. And that's the whole goal of manhood, I think, is to be a father and a husband.
Right.
And so how can I listen to these as a young man? How can I listen to these men who don't even...
A lot of it's a facade too, to be honest. I've been around a lot of these guys like in California that are like multimillionaires, and I've gotten to see that a lot of it's fake. 100%. A lot of it's fake. It's not real.
I believe it.
They live very disgusting and broken lives. They're degenerates. They're a slave to their passions. And I'm like, that's not, why are people looking up to these guys?
There will never be joy in that lifestyle. You will only find sorrow in that lifestyle. And it's unfortunate that they have such a platform, and I'm hoping, that this platform right here is making a difference. I truly believe, and I hope it's blessed. I continue to be blessed by God.
Yeah.
What you're doing.
Pray, man. We got to pray,
And so these are like you said, that scene is beautiful because it's the fathers, it's the everyday fathers that are really making a difference, that really love their families, that will go to work and then come back home, and they're going to work to provide for their families.
Right.
And so whatever it is you do, if it's morally upright to make a career to provide for your family, you're doing great things. You don't have to be famous. You don't have to make $1 million a year. You just have to do just enough to take care of your family. And there's nothing wrong with being a normal little family.
Yeah. It's actually a blessing if you don't have those things as crutches, because it can actually hurt you to have fame and money. One of the guys that I met, he's a multimillionaire, he has a private jet, and I saw him post a video, and it was very, very warped understanding of I guess family. He posted a video and he's like, I guess he was at the movies with his daughter, and he was like, he had to step out of the movie theater because he got a phone call. And then he was talking about the video. He's like, my daughter's not going to care that I stepped away from her while we were spending time together because I made $15,000 just from that phone call. She's going to care that I made those $15,000 and I put our family ahead. I'm like, dude, your daughter does not care about that, like, at all. She does not even care about how much money you make. She cares that you're spending time with her.
Absolutely.
Like 100%. And I stopped following him after that. I'm like, that's sad that you think that that's what it means to be a father. Being a provider is 100% part of being a father, but also being present. That's something that I struggle with too. And I'm not trying to shame other fathers, whatever, because I'm not someone to look up to, but that's something that I have to work on myself, being present with the kids. Yeah, as fathers, we work a lot, right? The big part of it is being a provider, like how it's hard,
Yeah.
but you have to know what truly matters, and making that extra money at the expense of if you're not thinking that that's valuable to your children, you're off the mark,
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, yeah, that's horrible advice from that gentleman, whoever that was.
I'll tell you off
Taking
camera.
time away, yeah, taking time away from your children. Um, they will remember. I mean, you and I mean, we talked about it. I still remember my father wasn't around a lot. He was in the Marine Corps. Then he became a truck driver over the states, kind of truck driver. So he wasn't around much. But I only remember the times that he was around.
Right.
And he might have been making a lot of money, as a truck driver. But the times I remember, I don't remember how much money. I can't tell you how much money he made. I can't tell you the things he got us. I can't tell you, the clothes he got us. But I just remember small moments when we got to spend time together. Whether it was driving in his truck somewhere, which I have no idea where we went. I have no idea what states I went to or what little city we were in. I only remember those moments of just being next to him. And you don't have to do much. Like, you don't have to do much. We can just be
It could
sitting
be
right
very
here
simple.
on the
Yeah.
couch, or we can be sitting outside in the backyard, or it could be anything. But if we're just around each other, right, connected with no devices separating us, because the devices can still,
Yeah.
even though we might be next to each other, but if I'm on my
I
phone,
struggle with that a lot.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely,
Not pulling out the phone. Yeah.
and we got to fight it. We all of us, because that's the world we live in right now, and everything right now is trying to separate families. Even this little smartphone is trying to separate us, and so that's the whole goal of this world. Because I truly believe that the king of this world right now, the prince of darkness, and his whole goal again is to separate families, to separate man and wife, to embarrass the image of God, and we can't let that happen. And we have to be careful with our time. And so, just spending time, and it could just be laying on the floor often and just watching them color, and just watching them instead of watching the phone, right? They want that. They want you to watch them color. You can that's it. That's all you got to do. Watch them color.
Yeah.
Third page, and give them a pink crayon when they ask for a pink crayon, right? You're their little assistant right there, right? Or I can just be on my phone while they're coloring. They'll remember that. They'll remember that. And so we have to, as young fathers, because I think, I'm a young father still. I'm only 33. And so we have to remember that, to just be there with them, no distractions, as much as we can. Right? We still have to go out and provide. We still have to go work. We still have to wake up early, maybe sometimes stay out late, to provide for our families. But when we have the time, try our best to just be there with them.
Yeah. You and I have a very similar background, because I remember, like, I cherish the few moments the few times that my dad take me to the park. Like, it was only a few times, but I remember, like, I pretty much remember all of the times that he's taken us to the park. So it is just those times where he was present in some way, versus, like, where, I mean, he was a hard worker, and he was just, like, always working, just being a provider. So he was a good provider, but not so much like a good father,
Mm-hmm.
And so it's hard to not repeat those same mistakes, Also, like, alcoholism is a big one, like, not abusing substances. I think that's going to be if I always tell people, like, because in Christianity it's not a sin to drink,
Mm-hmm.
but drunkenness is a sin. But if you could avoid drinking alcohol, I recommend it. I recommend, if you could avoid it, because it could lead people down very quickly. Like, most people don't have self-control, much less with substances.
Mm-hmm.
So it's only going to be destructive, So I always tell people, like, it's just better just to stay away from it, Yeah, you can have a beer here and there, but, like, when it's so easy to go out of control with alcohol,
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. So this will probably make you laugh, but I stopped drinking alcohol. So in high school and in college, I was, not the best. I was a good wrestler, good student, good, like, just follower of my coaches, but I was still also a young man, and I made a lot of dumb mistakes as a young man, and alcohol was a part of that.
Yeah.
And so I remember my 21st birthday, and this was right before I joined the military, because while I was wrestling, I was also competing in MMA, amateur MMA, had 4 amateur fights before I joined the Army. And so my 21st birthday, I was actually cutting weight inside of a sauna. And then something I just like, it's like, you know what? I'm just not going to drink alcohol anymore.
Hmm.
And haven't drank since. And I think it's
You haven't drank since your 21st birthday?
yeah, yeah.
Really?
So
Crazy.
that's it. No more, no more. And
Not even like a beer or like
no, nothing,
really?
nothing. So, and again, it's not a sin to drink. I don't
Yeah.
think I don't look down on anyone that's drinking alcohol. You know, you were
Yeah.
talking
And we have
about
wine
drunkenness.
every Sunday as a
Yeah.
part,
Well,
the Eucharist.
well, no,
Yeah,
we
so, I
don't,
mean,
but because it's the body of
yeah.
blood of Christ. So,
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying.
so which is another topic,
Yeah.
maybe. But no, I truly
Yeah.
believe that it's truly the blood and
That
body of
it
Christ.
becomes, yeah.
Yeah, it's no longer wine or
Yeah.
bread. It is truly His body and blood.
Uh-huh.
But yes, I am Orthodox, and but no, yeah, I don't think it's a sin at all. But I think also if I tell young men all the time, I would tell my soldiers all the time, hey guys, obviously if you're 21, you can drink, but I would encourage you just to give it up,
Yeah.
to just give it up, right? Especially as a young soldier, especially give up getting drunk, right? Because it's putting you into a different mindset. And if there's, you never know, maybe there's an emergency somewhere where you are at, and can you really help somebody if you are drunk in that moment? Probably not. And so, if you can go without drinking, I would always encourage, don't even think about it. Don't even think about any other substance and all these things that kind of put you into a different mindset. You always kind of want to be in the moment, knowing what you're doing, I think, especially as a father. We're talking about fatherhood right now. As a father, I think you always need to be in the moment and know what's going on with everybody around you, wherever you are.
I think the number one thing is it impairs your judgment. Like most people, they do things that they wouldn't have normally done if they were sober. A lot of people, they'll start with alcohol, and then by the end of the night, they've consumed other drugs.
Mm-hmm.
Something that they wouldn't have done if they were sober, or they cheated on their spouse, or because they were under the influence,
Mm-hmm.
whereas they wouldn't have done that, or they've driven their car. And like I know people personally that are in prison right now because they killed somebody, and they just threw away their life.
Yeah.
They threw just doing stupid things, like
and it could have been prevented.
Like it's the simplest thing, just don't do it. But it's like it's best to be avoided because most of us don't have self-control anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're opening yourself up to have that, I mean, I'll have a beer like every now and then, so, but not like
not
that.
that. I don't think it's bad at all. I don't
But
think it's
getting
bad
drunk,
at all.
like,
But getting drunk, absolutely.
now
can
somebody's
ruin
gonna see me
lives.
in public drinking. I'm just kidding.
Don't drink two more.
Yeah, no, but it's not good, especially if you're with your family and like you're saying, like you might be at a family party and then something happens and then you're over here, can't even walk, and you're useless.
And then your children are gonna see you. Your children might see you useless, and that's my greatest fear. I don't want my children to ever see their father useless, and
especially when you're very capable.
Yeah.
You're such a capable man, and then for you voluntarily impaired yourself for no reason, for no good reason.
Yep, absolutely. It's so important, and I think all men should aspire to become husbands first, and then fathers, because it just makes you so much better. It makes you think about all of this, right? I have little ones looking at me, and they're gonna do what I do more than what I tell them to do.
Yeah.
Right. So it's so important that helps me, that I'm always keeping that in my mind. And so if they were to ever see me useless, it would be horrible, right? I need to be there for them. I need to be strong for them. I need to be of the right mindset for them. I need to be of the right faith for them as well. And so all these things, you'll start thinking about. But it's not too early to start thinking about these things. As a young man, if that's your goal, which it should be, to become a husband and father, I think you should start thinking about these things now and start doing these things now, right? Start practicing how to be a husband and father now. You don't have to wait, right? You don't just wake up one day and you're automatically, now I'm disciplined.
Right.
It takes time, it takes little steps. So as a young man, right? Again, what we talked about in the beginning, practicing how to be submissive to your authority, you can start doing that now, right? Practicing all these things. And then when you are a husband, you become a father, you'll be ready.
Yeah.
You'll be ready.
And it's something you're always working at least for me. Like I can't say I'm arrived. Like I'm already there. Like I'm a father now. I'm good. Like I'm already doing a good job. Like it's something you work on every single day.
Absolutely.
I might get into an argument after this, with my
Yeah.
kids or whatever. And I'm like, dang, like I messed up.
Please
Then
forgive
then I
me.
have to do what you said, ask for forgiveness. Um, so it's something that you constantly work at. But the goal is to like mitigate the amount of times that you mess up. And then when you do mess up, just come back and apologize and try to fix things and try to stay as the leader as much as possible. Um, I think since we were talking about like the younger people looking up to you and stuff like that, the big one I think especially with younger people is the fear of missing out. So that's also where the alcohol comes in, because a lot of the young kids, they want to go to parties and they feel like they're missing out if they don't go there and if they don't drink and if they don't get girls and if they don't.
Yeah.
But now looking back, dude, like looking back at, now that we're older, looking back, you're like, if you don't participate in any of that stuff, you are not going to miss out whatsoever on any of that. Like there's nothing that you're missing out on. Like I was having this conversation with Alex on his podcast, and we were talking about lust or the passions or whatever. And I brought up, I'm pretty sure you've seen that story of that monk on Mount Athos that lived to be like 90 or whatever, and he had never seen a woman.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've wrestled with that in my head. I'm like, because there are times where I'm like, man, he missed out. Like he missed out on like the gift of like the beauty of women and the tenderness and then now I'm at the point where I'm like, I don't think he missed out. Like I think he lived his life in service to God. There's nothing that anybody can say that he missed out, you know? I don't know. What do you think?
I agree. Yeah, he lived a life well spent for God. He didn't miss out at all. And yeah, the world would say
The world would say,
oh,
oh
absolutely.
my goodness. Like,
Absolutely.
yeah.
And the world would look at him, and many men would probably look at him as weird, as just and a lot of men actually would probably think that's impossible. They wouldn't believe you.
Yeah.
They wouldn't believe you. That's impossible. No man can do that. And they're right. No man can do that without God.
Right.
And so he had God with him, and that's how he was able to do that and live. And he was probably so happy, right? And there's still sorrows. We're still going to go through struggles no matter where we are. And I think these are blessings. God allows sorrows and struggles for us so we can run to him and ask for him to help us. He allows us to fall so we can go to him and ask him to forgive us, right? And so there was certainly still times of struggle for him, I'm sure, but he was able to do that because of God, able to do something that most men in this world would say is impossible.
Yeah.
Because of God.
But even for us in the world, like the temptation is a good opportunity to exercise virtue. So because we're constantly inundated with all these images and we have access to everything, now we have an opportunity to exercise our virtue and be like, you know what, I'm going to live a chaste life, or I'm going to do things correctly and not engage in the passions or whatever. So we're like, what was I going with that? I lost my train of thought.
I think right now that as Christians, we have the best opportunity of any era to be the closest to God. And I think that because everywhere you go, I open my phone, there's temptation, lust. There's on the billboards, temptation, there's lust. You driving on the radio, at the gym, at your workplace, everywhere you go, the world is just surrounding you and throwing lust, especially for men, young men. Lust, everywhere you look. You cannot run from it. But what you can do, every time your mind goes, the wrong way, you can immediately turn around and ask God for help, for forgiveness. Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me, a sinner. Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me, a sinner. And we can truly pray without ceasing, because temptation right now is without ceasing. And so I think right now, young men, we have the best opportunity of all ages, of all eras, to be the closest to God, to continuously ask him for forgiveness, to ask him to save us, to have mercy on us. And we can do it right now. Like you can do it right now.
Yeah.
And so it's a thank you, Lord, for these temptations, because now I'm going to never stop asking you to forgive me, never stop asking you to show me mercy, never stop asking you to help me and save me. Whereas maybe there might been a time when if there's no temptations, I might feel like I'm not falling. I
Yeah.
don't need God. I'm not falling. I'm not looking. I'm not doing anything. So why do I need to pray to God? That is a horrible and scary
Yeah.
thought to have. And so maybe thank God for so much sorrow and temptation right now. If you go back to Him every time, without ceasing, every time, it could be every hour of the day.
Yeah.
So
It's all about establishing the pattern and creating a default. What is your default? Where do you run to when those temptations arise? A good
mhm.
one for me is like asking for the intercession of Saint Michael. And I think just that image of an angel with a sword striking like the evil one,
Yes.
and I mean that's powerful, like for men, like you can visualize that, like the he you can ask for his intercessions to fight against those evil forces, those demonic forces that are going into your mind.
Yeah.
Also,
I actually, yeah, we have Saint George here.
Saint George,
Saint
yeah.
George is my patron saint, and here we see him. Saint George is a archetype of Christ.
Hmm.
We see him defeating the dragon, right? Who Christ has defeated the dragon. And we see Saint George. I ask Saint George all the time, Saint George, please pray for me. Help me to be like you. Help me to slay my dragons, right, that are within me, the same way you slayed your dragons. You know, pray to God, Saint George, to help me as he helped you.
Hmm.
So
Even the most holy Theotokos, she's the true terror of demons. So asking for her intercessions, I think
absolutely,
she's the true example of purity. So who better to ask for intercessions?
absolutely. And again, we're talking about fatherhood right now, and in the Orthodox Church, look how much support you have as a father, right? You need it. You can't do this by yourself. You need a support system to be a good leader, right? And you have that in the Orthodox faith. You have your spiritual father, your priest. You have all the saints of the faith there for you, waiting for you to ask for help, and they will help you. You have the sacraments, right? You have confession to go back to when you have fallen, and you have all this guidance from the Orthodox faith, and it's what every father needs, I think. And I wish, sometimes I wish my father had it, but now I have it. And so now it's on me to keep it and to pass it down to my children.
Hmm. I want to go back a little bit to like the having the right role models, having the right
Oh,
people to look up to. We were talking about people that are successful from a worldly definition, like people that are millionaires and they have fame and they have, successful businesses and companies and they're in shape. But I mean, look at them, like a lot of these guys, look at their family lives. Do they actually have like a true family life? I think about that. I mean, they have a lot of success. I mean, they're hardworking. They got great work ethic. Maybe they treat people really well. But at the end of the day, a lot of them are divorced, or a lot of them, like, their kids don't talk to them, you
mm,
know? So I think it's about putting things into its proper order. Like, what truly matters at the end of the day, Are people gonna, how are you gonna be remembered by your family, when it's all said and done? Like, um, so I think it's important to have the right people that you're looking up to, and it might just be the dad who's a plumber, and he works really hard, comes back to his family, buys them pizza, just
yep.
like has a good time with them. Like, it might just be that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, to those kids, like, that's their hero still. The good dad might just be that guy who's just like the guy who's working really hard and then just comes back, works 60 plus hours at the restaurant, and then
Hmm.
comes back and is
Yeah.
there for his family.
There's absolutely nothing wrong with your dad being your hero. I think that's what we should all aspire to, right? Yeah, there's nothing wrong with your dad's just, I don't want to say just, but maybe he's a plumber, a mailman, a truck driver. He's a manager of, a firm, or whatever it may be. Your dad is your hero. Man, you're blessed. You're blessed, right? And
Right.
that's something I'm just a high school teacher, high school wrestling coach. and I want my children to call me their hero. I want to be their hero.
Right.
So, and then we're talking about role models, right? And I think it's so important for a young man to pick a good role model. And if it's your dad, you're blessed. You're blessed to have your dad as your role model. But maybe it's not your dad, right? I know as a
Might
young
be a school
boy,
teacher, might be
exactly, right?
a coach.
But we have to. I think we have to pick the right role models because there's so many role models out there right now. Like we spoke about, these influencers who might be rich and have all the material items, are displaying all of the women that they hang out with, and I know that might be something to a young man that looks attractive, but it doesn't lead to life. It only leads to death and sorrow. So picking a role model who places his family above everything else, is something you should aspire to. And it could be yeah, your teacher, your high school teacher. It could be your college professor. It could be your football coach, your strength coach. It could be a neighbor maybe. It could be someone from a fictional story or a historical person. Right? There's so many good role models out there. As a my degree is history, and so military history, and there's so many examples. I think of one right now, Lieutenant General Stonewall Jackson, who was a great American military general, and in his book Rebel Yell, right, about his life, he's such a great example of a father who loves his family, and who, as a general, that loves his soldiers, and so. Yeah, it's very important picking a good role model as a young man, if it's not your father already. So,
Yeah. For me, I think I always admired seeing the virtues in, like, it doesn't matter if it was like an anime character or like a comic book character like
yeah,
that. I think that really helped me in my formation. Like it really helped me like keep me to admire virtue. First of all, I admire virtue. A lot of people don't admire virtue, but to try to emulate them in any way that I can.
yeah,
You learn a lot just even from like fictional stories. You learn a lot about sacrifice,
absolutely.
helping other people, standing up for the weak, training hard, working hard, having a mission, having a purpose. I think that's something you see consistently as a pattern throughout all of these stories. It always comes down to like the main character is the main character because he's on a mission and he stays true to that mission no matter what. Um, Let me ask you this. It's kind of a funny question. Do you think Goku was a good father?
Oh man, that's a good question. Yeah, so I love. So you're talking about fictional stories here, right? Like in comic books, anime. I know some might not agree. I think I grew up reading comic books and watching anime, Dragon Ball Z specifically. And you know, you see Goku, this character, who is a archetype of Christ.
Mm.
He really is. Whether the creator knew this or not, but you see Goku come to the earth as a child in a manger, is adopted by earthly parents, grows up, you know, becomes a hero, sacrifices himself to save the planet, comes back to life, is resurrected, and then after he's resurrected, his whole purpose is to keep fighting and protecting the earth from all evil that's attacking it. Now, is he the greatest father? I think he placed his purpose of defending the world over being a father sometimes, but he still, I think, would be a good role model for like a boy growing up. He was for me, right? I saw this character of Goku just always smiling too, was strong, was kind, was gentle, but can flip the switch to go and defend his loved ones. He was always defending his loved ones, those he loved, and even strangers, right? And so, as funny as this sounds, you're learning things from anime. I think there are some out there, right? When the whole goal of this character though is to defend the weak and needy.
Yeah.
That's his goal, right? And we can learn something from that. I learned a lot from Goku.
Yeah.
and comic books, right? I didn't have a father figure really growing up. And so my father figures came as a boy from out of these comic book pages and these Saturday morning cartoons,
The heroes.
these heroes.
Yeah.
And as a young boy, it's like, I want to be like them. I want to become strong and capable so I can protect the weak and needy like these guys. And I want to be kind and gentle like Goku. And yeah, I think it has shaped me a lot actually, into who I am today. And then as I become a man, I realize, oh, well, all these heroes actually are just little archetypes of the one true hero,
Right.
Jesus Christ, right? Because they're all just trying to imitate what Jesus Christ has done for us, continues to do for us, right? And so now as a boy, each phase, right? I wanted to be Batman, and then I wanted to be Captain America, then I wanted to be Goku, and then I wanted to be, each whatever was next in the phase. But now I look back and I see that they were just leading me to the ultimate hero, Jesus Christ. And now as an older man, as a father, husband, now I want to be like him, right? Jesus Christ is who I'm trying to be now. So
It's kind of like a different switch too, because in the other examples, the emphasis is on you. So you think of like the Matrix, like the chosen one. Like you're like, oh, I want to be the chosen one.
yeah.
And then, or like Batman, like, oh, I want to be Batman. I want to be a vigilante. I want to stand up,
Mm-hmm.
like, which are very commendable qualities and commendable things to do. But like in real life, it's like I want to submit to that one, to God. I want
Yeah.
to submit to
What is it called? The main character syndrome,
syndrome.
or
What is that? Like,
so you don't be the main character. That's how I don't want to be the main character. You know who the main characters are now? Everyone else around me. And now I look at myself more as like a supportive character
right.
to my wife, to my children, to the young athletes, to the young wrestlers that I coach, to my students. They're the main characters now. And how can I support them, right? Now that I'm older, and to help them accomplish their goals, and how can I be an example of a Christian to help them come to the Christian faith, right? So now we should get over that I'm the main character. No, you're not the main character. Be a supportive character. Make everyone else the main character, right? And support them. Help them achieve their goals, their missions, right? And so I've been trying my best, as a father now, and as a coach teacher. That's my mindset.
That's such a good point. How do you handle that? How do you navigate that while still being competitive? But you're saying like, being the main character, or not being the main character. I think the way I've seen it, like, especially like UFC fighters and stuff like that, they're always giving glory to God. Like they have this great victory. The first thing that they say is, I want to thank God for allowing me to do this. How do you personally navigate? Like, you want to be competitive, like you want to win your match, you want to win your wrestling match, but at the same time, like, that everything's about God.
Absolutely, yeah. And I commend those UFC fighters for giving glory to God. I think it's awesome. I think everyone should, because that is where it comes from. But now, I'm getting older. I'm my focus now is teaching and coaching more so than being competitive. But when I sign up for these competitions, I still want to win. But my mindset now, I'm not training myself 6 days a week. I'll be lucky if I can train myself twice a week, or 3 times a week sometimes, right? I'm not the main character. Everyone else is. And so now when I sign up for these competitions my mindset is, if I can keep up with these guys who I'm competing against, and I can beat them, maybe I can hang with them, right? And these guys are training all the time, if as much as me, if not more. And so I know, okay, I'm competitive still. So if a day ever comes when I have to protect my family out there in the world, I know I'll be okay. I'll be able to protect them, right, from any danger, anyone who wishes to do harm against my family. Because the irony of it, especially if you're a martial artist and you're watching this, that once you become very good at martial arts, you no longer become a threat to people, really.
Mm.
You don't really want to hurt anyone anymore. The irony of becoming dangerous now is like you just want to be safe, right? And so usually the bad guys who want to do harm to others, or they're bullies, they want to bully people, have no training and aren't very capable. And so now my mindset is I'll keep training, compete once in a while, and like I said, if I can still hang with these guys, I know if a guy who's a bully wants to harm my family, I'll be able to take care of him.
Take care of them.
Yeah. So, yeah. So like I said, I'm not I'm not an elite grappler by any means. I wrestled in college, and I'm a blue belt, and I do it now more so to, kind of stay fit enough to protect my family.
Who's your favorite DBZ character?
Yeah, good. That's a good question. Honestly, Vegeta.
Vegeta?
Vegeta, because he's short. He's short like
Yeah.
me, right?
You're
And
nothing like Vegeta though. Like he's like he's all resentful and envious and
but I like Vegeta because I honestly like Vegeta and Goku's like relationship. Right? And we see it again. Goku displaying Christian virtue of forgiveness and mercy, and what did it do to Vegeta? It changed his heart.
yeah.
Went from a bad guy. Goku showed him mercy and forgiveness, and Vegeta now becomes his greatest ally, his greatest friend, right? Who Vegeta secretly, and if you watch it, secretly loves Goku.
Yeah.
And you know that, and he secretly admires Goku. He wants to be like Goku, and Goku changed him not because he was stronger than him, but ultimately because he showed him mercy and forgiveness. And so that's kind of like, I love seeing that whole story play out, and the power of forgiveness within Goku and Vegeta's relationship. So they're like my favorites. They're like
Yeah.
my favorites.
Makes sense. Well, I think we'll end on that note, on a lighthearted note.
Yeah, absolutely.
But any last words or any, or just tell people where they can find you?
Yeah, again, I only have Instagram, brother Emmanuel. A lot of my stuff you'll see is from Jonathan here, Roots of Orthodoxy, and my brother Brett, who takes a lot of awesome pictures of my family and stuff, and my wrestling team. But yeah, if you ever have questions, you want to ask me, please send me a message. And but here's my message, I guess, for younger men. If you're watching this, there's a lot of messages out there. There's a lot of men talking to you right now. I know this, how to be a good man, or what it means to be a man. A lot of them are telling you half truths. There is one true example of how to be a good man, how to be a good husband, how to be a good father, and that example is found in Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ of the Christian faith, of our Christian faith. And that is who our greatest role model should be. That's who we should all aspire to be. And if you can find him right now, by praying to him, by visiting an Orthodox church. But be careful. Just be careful who you listen to out there telling you how to be a man. There's only one way to be a man. And again, it's found in Jesus Christ. So may your journey be blessed. If you're watching this, may your day be blessed, and may you find Christ.
Amen. All right, guys. See you guys on the next one.
Love you, brother.
Love you too, brother.